Okay, so welcome guys to today's lesson, and I also want to welcome you to second term, term two. We're going to be talking about a number of topics, but in this lesson in particular, we're going to be talking about World War One. We're just going to talk. We are not going to get really into detail. We'll do that maybe around in grade nine. That's when we are going to maybe 9 or 10. That's when we're going to get into detail about the World War One. So, but now we just want to know what were the causes. We just want to know which countries were involved. That's what we're going to be talking about in this lesson. Oh, okay, Rowan. So, is your cousin on trial? Hi, Hane. Hi, Hane.
Hi, ma'am.
I'm great.
Hi, ma'am.
Great. Are you a student on trial?
Yes, ma'am.
Or you're on trial?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, that's great. Hope you're going to enjoy the lesson. Okay, so like what I said, we're going to be talking about a world war. That's what we're going to be talking about. Like I indicated before, that we're not really going to get into detail, but we're just going to talk about like probably the causes of world war and the countries that were involved and things like that. That's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about World War One. Okay. Uh, okay. So the first thing that we are going to talk about are the causes of World War One. That's the causes of the war, right? That's what we're going to be talking about now. So the first cause of the war was militarism. Does anyone know what military?
No, ma'am.
Okay, and Cindy,
Ma'am.
you don't know. Okay, so militarism. That's the fascination with war and a strong military, like fascination, war, and a strong military. That's what we're talking about. We're just basically talking about a strong military. Sometimes whereby countries want to show each other that they could like strong military systems, something like that, whereby they just want to, because in this world, what determines that this country is on top is the firstly is probably the economy, and another thing that will determine whether a country or a state is powerful is their military, right? If they have a strong military, then they are going to be a powerful nation, right? So that's like what was the main one of the causes, because people wanted, like the nations or the states wanted, like how states are power hungry. Every state wants to be the powerful one. Okay, maybe we can ask today's do you guys read newspapers and like follow news and things like that? I do that.
Not really, ma'am.
Okay, so a huge military build-up in the European countries. They were trying to intimidate each other during the time of imperialism. So huge armies in Germany, France, in Russia. So, well, like what I'm saying, I'm just trying to make it for you guys to understand that countries wanted to show each other like who is the powerful one. Because if you have a strong army and if you have a strong military system, then you are regarded as powerful, because no country come and say, okay, can say anything like against, because you are like very powerful. Okay, maybe you guys can tell me which country do you think has got a powerful military system today? Like now, like in this day. Have you ever had? You don't know.
I would say Russia.
Sorry?
I would say Russia.
Exactly. Yeah. There are countries like Russia, they're well known for their military system, that even if, okay, they are well known, that's what makes them powerful, because no state or anything can no, or any nation or whatever can like try to attack them or do this, because they are well known because of their advanced military system, and they are well known for their strong army. They are well known for their tactics, like they have, like they're well known, even their equipments, whatever they have those submarine, what do you call it, submarine something something, those submarines that move under the water, and they use those for their military, it's also part of their military system. So you see that they are strong, they are well advanced compared to compared to other countries. So basically, that's what was happening because countries wanted to show each other that okay, we are the most powerful country or we are the most powerful state. So some countries ended up like forcing like citizens into the military because the bigger the military is, like that's how you become powerful, right? Also another thing, if you have a huge military, like many people in the military, that's how you also get to be powerful, right? So that's also another thing. Like I said, we're not going to get into much detail. Okay, there's someone, we lost someone, I don't know let me just check. Okay, I think it's Aiden. Okay, he's having problems. And then another thing that we can talk about as the cause of the world war is like alliance, right? What do you guys understand by the word alliance? Does anyone have any idea what an alliance?
Yes, ma'am.
What is it?
It is a joining of other countries in peace, ma'am. So that's if I,
Sorry, I didn't hear you. Can you come again? Okay, I can't hear you. Okay, anyone else who wants to try? And
ma'am, I can say,
anyone who wants to try?
ma'am,
Yes, I can hear you. Right, I can hear you, Rowan.
it's the joining of other countries, ma'am, and
Okay.
and fight against other countries if one country has to fight.
Okay, I don't know what's happening with your, is it your microphone or yes? I don't know what's happening. Anyway, okay, that's correct. You have an idea. You have an idea. So what we are talking about here is when we're talking about an alliance, we're just simply talking about probably a union or association that is formed probably for mutual benefit, right? Especially between countries and organizations. So that's what we are talking about. So we are saying countries started forming alliances that this country and this country and this country are like these, like they start to form a union, right? So that they just started forming unions, right? And those unions are something that also caused wars because countries started creating those kind of unions. Okay, for example, let me give you an example that probably you are in class and then Rowan and he starts saying, okay, we have our own group and we are going to do our own thing. And then Hein and the other guy and start saying, okay, fine, we are going to have our own group and we're going to do our own thing. This is probably going to cause some friction and people are likely going to fight, right? Because of that. So that is one thing that also caused that caused the war, right? So the allies were like people who started to get into groups and unions, like what I'm saying. There was France, there was Great Britain, there was Russia, aka Triple Entente. There was Belgium. They started forming their own they were allies. And then Central Powers, there was Austria-Hungary, there was Germany, Bulgaria, Ottoman Empire, things like that. So people started to form like alliances, like getting into unions. And then this is something that also caused like the war. Building of empires around the war is also another thing that we can talk about. And yeah, that's basically what we talk about. We talk when we are talking about the causes. And then okay, getting and then imperialism. Does anyone know what imperialism mean? Any idea?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Is there anyone who wants to try?
It's the building of empires.
Okay, that's good. Anyone else who wanna try? Yes, that's good. That's yeah. It's almost yes. Anyone else who wants to say something? You can say whatever you think. In class, say whatever. Anything that we want to say? Hey, do you want to contribute anything? Well, how do I pronounce your name?
Hein.
Okay,
Hein.
Hein. Oh, it's Hein. All right. Okay, thanks, Hein. So, Hein, do you want to add anything?
No, ma'am, I don't have anything.
You don't. Okay, so when we're talking about imperialism, we're talking about probably a policy of extending a country's power and influence through colonization, right? Use of military force or other means. That's what we talk about when we talk about imperialism. So we are saying that countries like started to extend their power and influence through colonization, right? Through the use of military force, like what I said when we're talking about militarism. And then so that's what started to happen, because countries now wanted to extend the country's power, right? That's what caused colonization, and we know that I think we talked about that in the last term, whereby we're talking about colonization. If I'm correct, talk about colonization, how people were colonized. So that's what triggered colonization, what we call imperialism. So in countries like Russia, imperialism had developed alongside that's where like it started to develop. So nationalism, pride in one's country. Due to imperialism, some individuals within a country borders felt more connected with their cultural group than with the larger nation, and then led to bitterness among some European people, Serbia. So it led to bitterness because that's when countries started to extend their powers, colonizing, and they started getting jealous of each other. Why are you getting this country? Why are you taking this country? Why are you doing this? They start it's like hungry for power. All the countries or all the states, especially the big states, were like hungry for power. They wanted to be like on top. Each and every country wanted on top. So that's what another thing that also caused the World War. That's another thing that also caused the World War. And then another thing that we can also talk about. Okay, maybe before I move on, I think I'm moving a bit fast. So maybe you guys can tell me. Okay, maybe let me just finish explaining nationalism, and then I can ask you questions. Okay, so another thing was nationalism. That's when we're talking about nationalism, we're talking about identification with one's own nation and support for its interests. So we're going to talk about a person who is love. When a nationalist is a person that who has so much love for their country, and who has so much love for their own nation. Uh, that's what we are talking about. So the Black Hand was a Serbian nationalist group committed to liberating all Serbians from Hungarian control. And also, so basically, when we're talking about nationalism, we're just talking about a situation whereby, sorry, okay, when we're talking about nationalism, we're just talking about pride in one's country, whereby you say, okay, I love my country, I love my nation, I can fight for it. I don't want us to be oppressed. I don't like that kind of person who can fight for their country. Okay, let's give an example. If we're talking about countries like South Africa, we can talk about Nelson Mandela and people like Steve Biko and other people like that. And when we are talking about probably countries like Zimbabwe, we can talk about maybe Robert Mugabe and other people like that. So there's people that are willing to fight for their nation. Those people are willing to fight, like people who love, who have their nation at heart, who are willing to who go through a lot just to make sure that their country is freed from colonization, is it from whatever oppression that they are in. So they make sure that their countries are free. Then so the this nationalism led to bitterness among some European people, right? That's also another thing that also caused the war. Okay, so before we move on, I would like you guys to tell me at least the meaning of the causes, like the meaning of the things that we're talking about. We talked about militarism, we talked about alliances, we talked about imperialism, and then we talked about nationalism. So before we move on, I would like to hear from you guys what you understand from these terms. Okay, so maybe I can ask, what do you guys understand by militarism?
It's like when they build a strong army to go to war with.
Sorry, Cindy, can you come again? I can't hear you.
It's like when that country, let's say Russia, builds an army and then they go to war with that army.
Okay, okay. And others, what do you think? Rowan?
Ma'am, you're glitching.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Okay. And him?
Excuse me, ma'am?
And do we have anyone else who wants to say something? I can't hear you guys. Let me see who is in the meeting. Okay, we have Cindy. Cindy has said something, and we have Hen. Do you want to say something?
Ma'am, I can't hear you nicely. You're glitching.
Okay. And Cindy, can you hear me?
Ma'am,
So you can hear me clearly. Oh, I'm glitching.
you glitch sometimes.
Oh, I glitch sometimes. Okay, I think it's just the internet that is bad. But okay. So okay. All right, sorry. So okay, there's someone who wants to okay. So just tell me when you can't hear me so that I don't proceed while you can't hear me, okay? Just tell me when you can't hear me, just let me know so that I know so that I don't just continue while you guys can't hear me. Okay, guys?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So another thing that I wanted us to talk about, okay, what we were doing now. Okay, let's make this easy, guys. So what I want us to do is to at least okay, let's do this in writing. I want you guys to write like, okay, we talked about four things. We talked about militarism, we talked about alliances, we talked about imperialism, and then we talked about nationalism. So what I want you guys to do, since the internet is acting up and you guys are not able to talk, so that I can't hear you and you can't sometimes. So I want you guys to write in the chart what you understand by each of these words, right? What you understand by militarism, what you understand by alliances, and what you understand by imperialism. Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, did you hear what I say? That I want you guys to write down what you understand by militarism, by alliances, imperialism, and nationalism. So I want you guys to write in the chart, and then I'll just give you maybe 3 minutes to do so, and then 3 minutes quickly you write that, and then we come back and talk about your responses. Is it okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. Ron, can you hear me? Ron, did you hear the instruction?
Ma'am?
Did you hear the instruction?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. And Hein, did you hear the instruction?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So let's do that. 3 minutes. I'm just gonna give you 3 minutes and then you post in the chart, then we talk about your response. Okay. Okay. So let's read what you guys have sent me. So Cindy said militarism, building an army and going to war. Okay. Alliances, making allies and unions. Okay. Imperialism, building empires. Okay. And nationalism, being proud. I think you wanted to say proud of your country. And then, hey, country should maintain a strong military capability. Okay, I guess this is for militarism. So militarism is when a country is willing to use their country aggressively. Okay, is willing to use their army, not country. Okay, their army. Okay. Okay. So basically, what we were talking about. Let me just try to explain one more time sorry. Let me try to explain one more time on the militarism point. So basically what I was saying when I'm talking about military, I'm just talking about, okay, let me just maybe start by telling you the definition for militarism. So militarism is the belief or the desire of a government or a people that a state should maintain a strong military capability. Okay, that's correct. And to use it aggressively, right? So that's basically what we're talking about. So when we're talking about militarism, we're just talking about like like what I was saying, that every country wants to have a strong military, right? Every country wants to have a strong military, because if a country has a strong military, they are going to be on top. They are going to be regarded as powerful, right? If a country has a large military, they are going to be regarded as powerful again, like what I said. So, and then imperialism, and then imperialism, like what I said. Okay, keep one. Alliances, like what I said. Then alliances is just the unions that I was talking about, that countries started to get into alliances, into unions, right? When you say, okay, we have this common goal, let's one union, let's unite and then come up with something. And then imperialism, okay, and then okay, and then imperialism, like what I was saying, this whereby countries are like have the desire of extending their power, right? Maybe that's why they end up like that's the reason why they end up colonizing other countries so that you can like extend their power. Then nationalism, I think we talked about nationalism, whereby a country is saying, okay, a person, or whereby a nation, nationalism, we're just talking about the like the love for your country, the love for your nation, the love for where you come from, right? Whereby you're willing to do anything for your country. So okay, so what these were the causes of the World War. We are saying number one, militarism. Every country wanted to be on top. Every country wanted to be powerful. All the countries wanted to expand to expand their power, like to expand their territory. That's what they want. So every country believe that they should maintain a strong military, right? And be prepared to use it aggressively, like what we were saying. So every country was saying, okay, we are ready. We have a big military system. We have a strong military system. We are ready to use it anytime. So every country was okay. That's another thing. That's the first thing that actually caused the world war. Because just imagine the situation whereby everyone is saying, I'm powerful, I'm the most powerful. So people want to prove now. The countries or the nations wanted to prove and say, okay, fine, you are saying you're the strongest, you have the strongest military. Let's go to war and see who is the strongest military, right? That was the point. And then alliances, people started getting into alliances, like whereby they say, okay, we are all like common enemies. Like if they have like common enemies, or if they have like a common goal, say, okay, we all don't like this country, we all don't like it. Okay, let's come as one and see what we can do in order to fight against it or do something against. And then imperialism, they wanted to expand their powers, and that's when you see they started to trying to colonize other countries, and then other countries were retaliating, and also something that caused a world war. And then nationalism, people had love for their countries and they were willing to do anything for their countries, so people could not just sit and see their countries being maybe bullied by other countries. They had to fight back. That's what we are talking about when you're talking about nationalism. So today we're not going to continue the other things. We're going to continue with them on Friday. But today, basically, we just wanted to understand like the military, the nationalism, the imperialism, and the what's the other one? The nationalism. That's what we wanted to understand. Those terms, those were the terms that we wanted to get familiar with so that we understand like the whole thing. And then as we move on, you're going to other thing. It's quite an interesting topic, because yeah, enjoy this topic. It's very nice. You're going to enjoy it. Then before we close, I would like to hear from you what you guys have understood in today's lesson before we conclude, or before we close, we end this lesson. I'll start with Cindy. Cindy, what did you understand in this lesson?
I understood what nationalism is, what militarism is, and alliances and imperialism. I understood those, and I understood that nationalism means that you are part of your country or you support your country, and imperialism is like building empires, and alliances is to build allies and those sort of things. And militarism is building armies.
Okay, okay. And Rowan, can you tell us what you've understood in this lesson?
Yes, ma'am. I've understood everything about militarism, and how countries are willing to use their
Okay,
military.
okay. And Hen?
I understood that all militaries want to have strong armies to go fight, man.
Okay. So does anyone have a question for today? Anyone who wants to understand something? Anyone who has like a question on anything before we end the lesson?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Cindy, do you have a question? And Hen, do you have a question?
No, man.
Okay. So I hope you guys enjoyed the lesson. Let's meet again in the next lesson. Have a lovely day. Bye, guys.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye, ma'am.
Right. Have a lovely day. Okay, guys. So welcome to today's lesson. As we are continuing to talk about World War One, we're just continuing to talk about the causes and what was happening and things like that. So in the last lesson, we're mainly focusing on the causes of World War. Who remembers what we're talking about? What were the causes, like the causes that we discussed in the last lesson?
We talked about militarism, alliances, imperialism, and nationalism.
Okay. And who remembers what is nationalism? What does nationalism mean?
It's to be part of one country.
Okay. And what?
It's to be part of one country.
Okay. And then militarism. Who remembers? Who remembers what?
It's like building a strong army and wanting to go to war.
So these are the four causes that we talked about in the last lesson, whereby we talked about whereby we talked about militarism, and we also talked about alliances and imperialism and nationalism. Those were the things that we mainly were mainly focusing on in the last lesson. So in today's lesson, we want to go ahead and talk about how the war started, right? That's what we want to talk about now. We just want to talk about the events, or should I say, the incidences that led to the war to start. So as you can see in the diagram in front of you, you can see that countries started like declaring war on each other, right? That's what started it, and countries started declaring war on each other. For example, Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia, and then Russia mobilizes to support Serbia, right? That's what we're talking about in the alliances, whereby we're saying, okay, countries were now in groups. So if the country that you are in alliance with, in the same alliance with, declares a war on another country, then you are automatically, you have to support them. So we see that when Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia, then Russia automatically mobilized to support Serbia. Now they were supporting Serbia because Austria-Hungary had declared war on Serbia. Then Germany mobilized to fight Russia, right? And then Germany now is saying, okay, Russia, why are you getting involved? Now we want to fight you, right? Then France declares war in support of Russia, right? You see what's happening. And then now France declared war in support of Russia. And then Great Britain declares war on Germany after Belgium is invaded. So you think that, so we see that it's like a chain of countries that were declaring war on each other, and then the other countries were getting involved by supporting the other countries that were declared war, or either had been declared war on, something like that. So that was what was actually happening, countries declaring war on each other, saying, okay, let's go to war, let's fight, because they wanted to see like what we talked about when we're talking about militarism, right? So it was like, okay, a country is believing that, okay, our military system is like great, and so let's go to war and see who is on top, and see who is like the real the most powerful one, right? And then war begins. Okay. Then weapons started being like produced, right? Weapons, like modern weapons. And because remember, what makes a military strong, or what makes a military powerful is because of its the weapons that they use, right? That's what makes a military powerful. So we see that they started creating like very advanced weapons and things like that. We see that okay, sorry about that. And then we see that weapons and their impact. Let's talk about the weapons that were used in the World War and the impact that they had. We have airplanes, right? Airplanes were also used. So first time in war, they were used. This was the first time that they were being used, and used mostly for spying on enemy troops eventually carried bombs and guns to fire on troops. I'm sure you've seen videos whereby some bombs were being dropped, like when bombs were dropped, like using the like when by people who were in airplanes, things like that. So airplane was like a major weapon because it was very effective, because if you had an airplane, it means that you were going to spy on your enemies, and it was actually a very easy way of doing it, and you could actually just fly over where their camps are, and then you could see how many are there. Like you could just have a rough idea on how many they are, right? So if you know how many they are, then you can strategize and things like that. So it actually helped. And then we have what we call submarines. Who knows what a submarine?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know what a submarine?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, what are they?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, what are submarines?
Ma'am, submarines are like water ships for underwater, and they were called U-boats, ma'am.
Okay. So yeah. So when you're talking about submarines, you're talking about those like they actually like they're more of, what should I say? They move underwater, right? Like they move underwater, and they're very, very effective. Okay. They're very, very effective, and they like it's a very in smart way of like of like attacking your enemies, because you'll be moving underwater, and then they won't be seeing that you are approaching, and they won't even have an idea that you are coming. And then once you get closer to them, then boom, you get to get to them without them knowing. So fired on enemy navy ships and merchant vessels, German subs called U-boats. So they were used, right, for purposes of like in the fighting and everything else. And then there were machine guns. I'm sure we all know like what a machine guns. They could fire for like machine guns like took 4 to 6 men to operate. They were big, as you can see, and could fire 400 bullets a minute. I think you can just imagine something that will fire 400 bullets a minute, right? Just imagine 400. So if it means that every bullet is going to get to one to a person or so, so it means my an average of 400 people, or let's say 300 people, who die in a minute. So it was actually a very powerful way of fighting. It had the chance to a machine gun. Then long range artillery, sorry. It took up to 12 men to operate, could shoot up to 12 miles away. That's quite very, very far, right? Terrorized troops were behind fighting lines. So you see, these were also other ways of the other weapons that they were using, right? And then we have tanks, used towards the end of the war, could roll through barbed wire, provided protection for attacking soldiers. So they were also used. And we have flamethrower, shot fire at troops, and foxholes. And then poison gas, that we have chlorine gas, suffocates a person, mustard gas, burns, blisters any skin. I think it was almost like the tear gas one, but more poisonous and dangerous than tear gas. Have you ever seen a tear gas? Have you ever seen where tear gas is used? Even on, do you know what is a tear gas? How it works?
No, ma'am.
Oh, you've never seen it?
Ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so for those who don't know, I think I'll find a video and then you can just see how it works. That's where they throw those they're not bombs, those things. I don't know, I don't even know how to call them. Okay, they throw them and then they start producing some poisonous gas, like should I say, some very strong smelling gas that the people struggle to breathe, right? So they're normally used even in today's maybe if I take an example for other countries, even South Africa, Zimbabwe, blah, 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 the police use them when when they want to control people, right? Maybe when people are getting, the situations are getting out of hand and people are not, people are just getting wild and all, they'll just throw them. And if they throw them, people have to run away because you can't stand the smell of it, because you can't even breathe when you are, like the gas is just strong, right? And yeah, so they have to run away and things like that. Then okay, so this is an example of a trench and foxhole. I think you can see these guys they're in a trench, like, and then they are, yeah, that's the what we were talking about when we were talking about the trench and foxhole. Yeah, short fires at foxholes. So these ones were like these are the foxholes that we were talking about. I'm sure you can see these guys are in a hole, like inside a wall, so that they can not be seen by people approaching, because if you are on the ground and if people will see you from afar. So I think it was just to avoid them from being seen by people. And then yeah, these are trench walls again. These are trench walls, and these are also trench walls. And we can see this one is I think a soldier is this is like a dog, right? This is like a dog. And so in this whole thing there is someone called President Woodrow Wilson, right, who wanted to remain neutral. Like he didn't want to get like really he didn't want to get really involved in everything else and things like that. So at first we traded and made loans to both allies and central powers. US supported the British blockade of Germany, stopped all imports. German retaliated with U-boats. So it was just a chain of people fighting. It was just, like I say, that at this juncture we're not getting really into detail about this whole thing, but we'll then get into detail probably in the next grade or something like that. So in 1915, German fired on the British passenger ship, the Lusitania. So that was Germany against Britain. And then 1.2 people died, including 128 Americans. Can you imagine? 1,200 people dying. And then Americans were angry, but Wilson didn't get involved like in the war, right? So that's also something. And then, okay, I just want to show you something. Okay, so you know what? I don't want to say a lot of things in one lesson, because actually in the week 2, we are also going to be talking about World War. So I don't want to say a lot of things about World War, about like confusing you, right? I want to make sure that you understand the basics first before we like move on, right, to talk about something else, like for example the causes and things like that. You're able to talk about the causes, and you're able to say, okay, this declared war, this country declared war on this country, and this country declared war on this country. So that's what maybe we should focus on in this lesson, because if we keep adding more information, we end up not understanding a thing. So yeah. Okay. So why do you think what was the importance of alliances? Do you think alliances were necessary? And since you now know what were alliances, and since you now know what was really happening because of the alliances, but do you think the alliances were like necessary?
Yes, ma'am.
Why?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Why do you think so?
Ma'am, if there weren't alliances, Germany would have won the war.
Okay. And others? Why do you think Germany would have won the war?
Ma'am, Germany would have won the war because they had the strongest army.
Okay. Okay. Right. And others, what do you think? Others, what do you think? There's some people who are not saying anything. Okay. And Aiden is saying because they had more. Aiden, is your mic still not working since last time? Aiden. Okay. So like what I was saying, that how do we like, okay, because remember we said one of the main causes of the war was like, okay, militarism. We have already talked about it. I think we have exhausted it, but the issue of imperialism, how does it get into the like someone to explain for me how it caused the war, the issue of imperialism. Okay, before we do that, maybe you guys can tell me what is imperialism. You see what I was talking about, that we definitely need to exhaust this first before we move on, because it seems as if the other guys or some of you don't understand these things as yet. So I want to know, what do you understand by imperialism?
Imperialism is the building of empires.
Okay, and others, what do you think? Hey guys, Raman, what do you understand? What do you understand by imperialism? Like from the last lesson, guys, are you there? Hmm?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I'm saying I would like to know like what is the meaning of imperialism? Okay, Cindy have already told me something, and now I'm asking Rowan and Hen, what is the meaning of imperialism? Like what you understood in the last lesson, what do you think is the meaning of imperialism? Are we there?
Imperialism means building of empires, man.
Okay, so how did the countries like that we're talking about, the states that we're talking about that were involved, that later on were involved in the war, how did they try to, or should, how did they build their empires? What exactly did they do? I think I talked about it in the last lesson. How were they doing it? How were they trying to create, to build their empires? What were they doing? What were they?
Ma'am, they were like, ma'am,
Yes, I'm here.
they were making like competition for the markets, ma'am.
Okay. And also like what I said, like what I indicated in the last lesson, that when we're talking about building empires in competition for markets, we're saying, okay, fine. They were now they it's like they wanted to extend or expand their power, right? So that's when they ended up colonizing and invading other countries, right? So that they can have a bigger, like for example, they can have a bigger states and things like that, so that they can, okay, if a country is going to say I'm going to take the whole of Africa, is just an example. If a country is saying I'm going to take the whole of Africa, if it means that the whole of Africa belongs to one country, then that means that that country is going to be the most powerful one. So they wanted to make their territories as bigger as they could, right? To expand their territory in as much as they can. So that's when the fighting started, of saying, okay, why are you invading this country? This is mine. And someone will say, also say, okay, this is also mine. So that's when the kind of the fighting and everything else started, because all the countries also wanted, like other countries also wanted word. For example, if there were conflicts of interest, whereby they'll say, okay, I also want this and I want this, that kind of thing. And also imperialism, when people on the states or the countries wanted to build their empires, right? There was also competition for markets, right? Because remember, the economy is also another thing that makes a country very powerful, right? If you're talking about economy, like that, we're saying, okay, if a country is a good economy, then it means it's going to very powerful, right? So that's how it's how like the powerfulness of a country is determined. Number one, the military, and then the economy. That's how powerful countries are identified. They will have a good economy, and okay, which country or do you think is the most powerful one in today's world?
Russia.
Sorry.
Russia, ma'am.
Okay, you think Russia. Okay, why do you think it's Russia? Why are you guys saying Russia? Why are you guys thinking it's Russia?
Ma'am,
Yes.
they have good technology and they have a big army.
Okay, yes, I think I agree with you, because when you're talking about advanced military skills, when you're talking about advanced military weapons and advanced anything that has got to do with military and things like that, Russia is like one of the most advanced countries. When we're talking about, like, they're one of the they normally have like their weapons are so advanced, right? All the weapons, like most of the weapons that then later get to other countries, are first made in Russia. So yeah, in terms of war and military structure and things like that, I think Russia is like on top of that. I think is on top of the game in that area. So yeah, so that's what people wanted. For example, if okay, there's going to be a World War what three, if there is going to be, it's an example. So the what happens is probably there are some countries that regard themselves as like powerful, right? Okay, maybe give me a list of countries that you regard as powerful. You said Russia. Which what's another one?
America?
Yes, we can also say America. Another one, maybe the third one.
Israel?
Okay, why did you say Israel?
Because it has the best trained army.
Okay. All right. Okay, fine. Then I have to verify about the actual, like, the most powerful countries in the in the world. I'll confirm about that, and I'll let you know. So another thing is nationalism, loyal to a nation, is also another thing that we talked about in the last lesson, and we tried to explain what is nationalism, though we didn't really link it to World War. So today we want to link it to the World War, right? Where do you think nationalism comes in, right, in this whole thing? Nationalism?
I don't know, ma'am.
Okay. We said nationalism is like love for your country, right? So we are saying that what could happen, people would want to fight for their own state, for their own country. For example, if you're about to be invaded, right? If your country is about to be invaded, and maybe a country is about to, remember we said that, yeah, when we said, oh, okay, I want to see where I talked about. Okay, you see here when I said Great Britain declares war on Germany after Belgium is invaded. So we are saying that Great Britain declares war on Germany after Belgium is invaded, like, because they're saying, okay, you can't invade Belgium, right? They're saying the whole thing was you can't invade Belgium. So it means that Great Britain was supporting like Belgium, right? So what I'm saying is when a country is saying, okay, let me just give a very simple example. When a country is colonized, right, what makes them to fight back is that nationalism, right? The love for their country. That's what makes them to fight back. We can give examples of even African countries. What made them to fight back and to resist that colonization and to see, okay, we are being colonized here, our resources are being taken away and things like that, is that nationalism, the love that you have for your country. That is what makes you to fight. Okay, if you don't have any love for your country, then you just say, okay, fine, it doesn't matter, it's okay, they can take whatever they want to take, it's fine. But if you have love for something, you fight for it. So that's what we are referring to when we talk about nationalism, because we are saying people had to fight to make sure that they get their freedom back, right? So if you have love for your country, you can stand with it. You have to fight for it. You have to do this and that for it. So when we go back to what we are talking about the World War, blah, 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 we are saying that nationalism is a cause, because was one of the main causes of the World War. Why? Because those people who had like the love for their countries, they could not just sit back and relax while other countries were like invading them, like invading their states and things like that, while their resources were being taken away, while they're being terrorized and things like that. They could not sit back and relax. So that's what also caused World War, because they had to fight back and say, no, we cannot give up. We have to have this and that, things like that. So that's where nationalism comes in, right? Okay. So what I would do, actually, what I wanted to do, I wanted to find a video for you guys. And did I put it on them? Okay, I think I didn't. Oh, I forgot. But anyway, it's fine. So what I wanted us to do for the remaining time, I wanted us to have a look at a video. Okay, I think we'll have a look at it in the next lesson of a video that we're going to watch about how the World War started. It's just it's like a video, because it's actually very interesting, because you understand better. So in the next lesson, probably the first 5 minutes or so, we can watch that video, and then we can then go on and discuss the things that we would have seen in that video, like exactly the things that we'd have seen in that. So yeah, so I would like to hear from you guys what you have understood today, what you have learned, and if you have any questions, then this is the time for you to ask. If you have any questions pertaining anything, this is the time for you to ask. So before you start asking, probably you can start by giving me the summaries of what you have understood in today's lesson. Okay. Anyone can start? Hey guys.
Ma'am, I have
Today we
learned
learned
how the war started for World War One, and how Russia helped Serbia, and how Austria and Hungary declared war, and that nationalism is how you protect your country, ma'am, and that you want it and that you think that you still need it, ma'am.
Okay.
Ma'am, I learned that how they use guns and how far they shoot, ma'am,
Okay.
and how they fought.
Okay. You learned about the weapons that were being used. Okay. And who else?
I learned about the whip.
Sorry, can you go? You can go on, Cindy.
I learned about how the weapons that were used during the war, like airplanes, machine guns, tanks, and I learned that what a trench hole and a foxhole looks like.
Okay, learned about the weapons that were used during the World War. That's great. And who else? Aiden? Aiden. Okay. I think he's out of the lesson or something like that. Okay. So, yeah. So that's basically what we were talking about. Do you have any questions, guys?
No, ma'am.
Anyone who has a question? Have you guys managed to write the assignment?
Yes, ma'am. Me and Ron have.
Oh, okay, that's great. So if you guys have managed to write the assignment, that's fine. Okay, so if you don't have any questions, guys, so we can have a short break as we meet again. Short. Have a great day.
Bye, ma'am.